Hello everybody. Today I am going to do my best to explain our final topic on system of equations, solving using elimination. So as usual, we're going to have a quick review on our current methods to solve system of equations. Our first method is by graphing, and you know that in order to graph a system of equations, the process is graphing both lines, and then we find the point of intersection. Our second method to solve a system of equations is substitution. And the process for that one is you substitute one number into the equation, and then you solve for the other variable. That's when I talked about how the y is like the teacher, the number is like the substitute, and then now we have our third method, which is going to be elimination, and we'll go over this process below. And we also want to make sure before we jump into elimination that we know how to check if a point is a solution to a system of equations. So in order to check if a point is a solution to a system of equations, for example, is this point a solution to the system of equations? What we have to do is we have to plug both points in. Plug in x and y to both equations. And this was Monday's assignment. So if we take our first equation, 3x minus 4y equals -5, we plug the x of 1 into the x, we plug the 2 into the y, we get 3 minus 8 equals -5, we simplify the left side, and we do get -5 equals -5. So it is correct for the first equation. We have to check the second equation also. 2x plus 5y equals 2. We plug in our x, we get 2 times 1 plus 5 times 2 for y equals 2. And then we go ahead and simplify this left side. 2 times 1 is 2. 5 times 2 is 10. 2 plus 10 is 12. And 12 does not equal 2. So since it only works for one equation, hopefully we all remember that this means no. 1, 2 is not the solution. Okay, and that should hopefully be all review. So now we're going to go over the process of elimination, our final method. And so we want to solve this system of equations using elimination. And up here, we have to remember that the solution to a system of equations is always an x and y. So this is where we're going to put our answer. Okay, and so elimination is an entirely different process, and the first thing that we need to think of when we see these two equations and then it says to solve by elimination is we need to think which variable, either this x, these x's right here, or the y's, the 3y minus y down here, which one of those can we cancel or bring to 0. And so what I mean by that is if we look at this 3y and this -y, and I'm going to put in 1 in front, there's always a 1 in front. If you combine these, the +3 and the -1, that would become 2y, so that's not going to cancel out, right? But if we look at this -5x and 5x right here, if we combine these ones, even though they're two different equations, we can combine those, that is going to become 0, right? So these will cancel out. So what we have to do, since we know that the x's are the ones that we can cancel out, is we have to add the two equations together. So we draw a line under them, okay? And then we are going to add these two equations together. Add equations. And in order to add those equations, we're going to add the x's. So we do -5x plus 5x. -5 plus 5 is going to be 0. 0x, and that's what I mean about this is the one that's going to end up going away. And so now we add +3 plus -1 is going to be +2y. And then we have -6 plus -8, that is going to be -14. And so what's the whole purpose of this? The purpose of canceling this out is this 0x is going to go away because anything times 0 is 0. Right, so that's going to cancel out. So it gives us our equation 2y equals -14. And now since we have one equation and one variable, we can solve for this y. So that will give us half of our answer. So let's solve for the y. We divide both sides by 2. Divide by 2, we get y equals -14 divided 2 is -7. So there is 1/2 of the answer right there. but we still need our x. So in order to get the x, we have to take this -7 and we have to plug it back into one of the equations. Plug into either equation, and then when you plug it in, you're going to solve for y. X, I'm sorry. We're going to solve for x. So we take that -7, we'll plug it into this first equation, -5x plus 3y equals -6. We said the y is -7, we'll plug that right here, -5x plus 3 times -7 equals -6. And then we have one equation, one variable, we solve for this x. -5x plus -21 equals -6. Add 21 to both sides. -5x equals 15. Divide both sides by -5, and we get x equals -3. We have the other half of our answer, -3, so our solution is -3, -7. Move on to example number 2. We want to solve the system using elimination. And so once again, when we see these two equations, we have to think of this question. Which variable, x or y, can we cancel out and make 0? So this time we have -9x plus 7y. That's not going to become 0. But this -6y plus 6y, these ones will become 0. So we are going to cancel out this y variable. And in order to do that, remember we have to add them because -6 plus 6 will be 0. So we are adding these two equations together, up to down. -9x plus 7x, that's going to be -2x. -6 plus 6 is going to be 0y equals 9 plus 1, which is 10. This goes away, so we get -2x equals 10. Divide both sides by -2, and we get x equals -5. So once again, we have half of the answer, but we still need to get the y. So in order to get that y, we take that -5 and we plug into any equation, and then you solve for y. So let's plug it into the first equation, -9x minus 6y equals 9. We're going to plug the -5 into the x, -9 times -5 minus 6y equals +9. And now we solve for this y. Multiply these, 45 minus 6y equals 9. Subtract 45, both sides. -6y equals -36. Divide both sides by -6, and we get our solution of y equals 6. So there's the other half of the answer, -5, +6 for our second example. So for our last one, we're actually going to do a little bit of a different process, but it's virtually exactly the same. Same, but different, as they say. So which variable x or y can we cancel out and make 0? And so it's pretty obvious here, the one we can cancel out are the 7s, the y's. But if you look, these are both negative this time, right? So if we added those, we would get -14y, but we have to make it 0. Right? So since these are the same variable, what we have to do first is we have to multiply the second equation by -1 first, then add together. Okay, so we're going to multiply this equation by -1, the whole thing. Okay, and so we're going to rewrite both of these. We get 5x minus 7y equals 11 for the top one, and now we're going to multiply the bottom one, everything by -1. -1 times 2, -2x, -1 times -7 plus 7y, -1 times +17 is -17. So here is our two equations. And now we go ahead and add them together because these are going to cancel out to 0. 5 plus negative 2 is 3x, negative 7 plus 7 is 0y, equals 11 plus negative 17, negative 6. This goes away, 3x equals negative 6, and we go ahead and we divide both sides by 3, and we get x equals negative 2. So we have half of our answer, negative 2. And now to go ahead and get our y value, we plug that negative 2 in one of these equations. Scoot this over a little bit, get 5x minus 7y equals 11. 5 multiply negative 2 minus 7y equals 11. Negative 10 minus 7y equals 11. Add 10 to both sides. Now we're solving for y. Negative 7y equals 21. Divide both sides by negative 7, and we get negative 3, the other half of our answer. So our solution is negative 2, negative 3. Thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your day.